live.
Let's open the meeting of the Du Bois County Council. So the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have a quorum tonight, even though we have 6 members. So, and then we'll start with the approval of the minutes for August 14th. They were sent to us. Is there any additions or corrections?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Do we have a motion? May I have a second?
I'll second that.
There is a second, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion pass. Okay, I think we're going to jump here a little bit and our past county council member Daryl Schmidt is here and he's wanting to address the council here before we get started. So, come up, Daryl.
Hello, Daryl Schmidt. I guess first I'll start off with reading a letter that I sent in to you guys. It says, "Hello everyone, it is with mixed emotions that I officially tender my resignation from Du Bois County Council District 1, effective Monday, September 9th, 2024. I've enjoyed working with everyone and wish the best for this great county. I will continue to advocate for the resident of Du Bois County, but in a different capacity. I look forward to representing Du Bois County at the Indiana State House, and I was sworn in on September 10th at 11 a.m. So now it's officially on the books, but I wanted to come in and just talk to you guys and express my gratitude. Probably as I was going through the decision-making process to commit for a run for the Indiana State Senate, the biggest apprehension I had was I was concerned about leaving you guys. You guys have been such a great group to work with, and I had to make a decision in my mind if I thought that I would be more effective advocating, at the local level alongside you guys, or if I thought that I could, advocate at the state level and still help the people of Southern Indiana. And I ultimately chose that I thought maybe that, I'm going to still advocate for everyone here and advocate for local decisions, but just from a different perspective. All along talking through and, my primary focus has been, driving, through the caucus process was, driving decisions local and efficiency and accountability. And I want to continue on that. And I want to thank you guys because it was such a great, awesome experience working with you guys. I learned a lot from you guys. There's a lot of things that I'll take away from my time working with you guys that helps me to, hopefully be a better state senator and a better person. So I just wanted to thank you for the opportunity of working with you guys. Good luck, and I still will. I will advocate for everybody. When I was going through this process and even at the caucus, I said that I originally had 2 home counties. I grew up and graduated from Pike Central. I've lived my adult life in Du Bois County. But now I have 6 home counties that I'm going to advocate for. And I want you guys to reach out, and I just want to say thank you. I learned so much, and I'm excited to get started on another chapter. But please reach out and whatever you need. I want to help and do my best. My heart's in the right place, so I'm going up there to do whatever I can. So please reach out and anything you need. But thank you.
And I think as a council, I want to thank you for the time you spent and your dedication to the county council and all the things you did for the betterment of Du Bois County. And I just want to wish you the best in your future endeavors. And we look forward to working with you as Representative District 48.
Well, thank you very much. I try to use the simple motto, surround yourself with great people and you'll be successful. And you guys are great people, and I'm excited to start. And please reach out with anything you need. But thank you.
Thanks, Daryl.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Okay. First on the agenda here is the Northeast Du Bois Fire District. Sandy,
I spoke with Ruthie Leisner, who was the secretary there for many years. She has stepped down, but she still helps out, and with Steve Cobb. They are requesting $62,500 in their CUM fire fund to help with the purchase of a new, they want to replace their first responder vehicle, and they're going to rebuild the bed. And this is part of that cost, and then they have money to help get a new chassis. So that's what they're needing this for.
So we're really just appropriating this money. They have the money. Anyone have any questions or discussions on that? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the additional appropriation of $62,500 for the Northeast New Orleans Fire District.
I'll make that motion.
Sonia's made a motion, and I have a second.
I'll second.
Further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, so next. Wyatt, are you ready?
Yep.
Wyatt Madden, What's County Community Corrections.
I'm here today for a couple of additional appropriations for project income, CTP, and for a salary ordinance for a part-time position. The additional appropriation for project income is for our electronic monitoring program. We had GPS added to our work release, so our budget this year was $100,000. Looks like it's going to be around $140,000. So asking for an additional $40,000 out of project income, and then a transfer from the 100 series, approximately $20,000, a little less than that.
I think you did
I did the math on it.
right. He's got,
$10,000.
the additional appropriation is $20,380.
Okay,
And then after that, we're gonna do a transfer from personal services that they're not using under the director and the assistant director's salary, $19,620.92. And they're gonna transfer that into electronic monitoring.
so
I think in a previous meeting, you're gonna take the salaries out of the grant versus out of project income.
Correct.
So again, this is not new money, this is just a,
Well,
The $20,000
The $20,000
is new money.
is new money in their budget.
oh,
The other one is a transfer of appropriations.
in their budget.
Yeah.
Okay, for 2024.
Yes.
So anybody questions or any discussion on that? I think you had explained one at the time of the GPS.
Yeah, we had GPS.
Oh, yeah,
At the end of last year, we had GPS added to our work release participants, so kind of upped the bill a little bit.
that could be a yearly cost then. Increase.
Yeah, but I budgeted for
I
2025
was
work
looking
release.
today, I think 150,000
Yeah.
for next year for 2025. So
Mhm.
any questions for Wyatt on that
What did
issue?
we have before the GPS, I guess?
They didn't have GPS
What's
in
just,
work release.
it just had no other type of, so it's for monitoring purposes, I
Right.
guess, okay.
Accountability. Knowing where they're at when they're outside the building.
So do we want to start out then? Any other questions? Otherwise, we want to start out with the additional appropriation?
Yes.
$20,380?
Yes.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve that $20,380.
I'll make that motion to approve the 20,000.
A motion, may I have a second?
I'll second.
Sonia seconded. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes.
So then we do the transfer from personal services, $19,620.92 to other services for the electronic monitoring.
Again, same subject. I entertain a motion to move that transfer. I'll make a motion.
I'll second the motion.
I made the motion. Brian seconded. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Anyone opposed? Passes.
The CTP request was not advertised yet, so
Right.
that'll go as consensus for the next time.
Okay.
So the CTP request is for some furniture from business environments. We were kind of storing the county's voting equipment in the fourth classroom for the past year. Now that that's out of there, I'd like to furnish that fourth classroom.
Okay.
And the quote I received from business environments is $12,981.67. That includes 12 chairs, 6 folding tables, 1 teacher's folding table, a teacher's desk, and then a 3-drawer lateral filing cabinet to furnish that classroom.
CTP, can you explain that?
That is the money that we receive from the state when we have people come from DOC to our facility.
Do you want me to round that to a whole dollar?
Yes, I would. So 82 then,
Yes.
12,982, 82, 12,000.
So we'll have that at the next meeting.
Okay, so I guess let's open it for discussion and, anybody?
Wyatt, I don't remember at the last meeting, is this a local furniture manufacturer you went with through our
Business Environments is who we use through the CNR project.
Yeah.
It's all national furniture. That's just, I guess, an outlet or a vendor that they use, who we have to go through.
That's right. That's what it
I
said.
mean, I think they gave us special discounts,
There were some questions asked if he could go locally, and they want to make sure that he could, Wyatt had to follow the same channels he did with the building project, and he addressed that with the people in the board meeting, so that was brought up. That's why I couldn't remember specifically the details, but I appreciate it.
I think the other reason someone is to stick with the same thing is the decor,
Right.
Because it matches everything, so. So, further discussion, and otherwise let's have a show of hands who would be in favor of that. Looks like it's unanimous. So, okay.
The next thing is the job shadow. I have an amendment to the salary ordinance. Do you want to explain it, then I can go from there.
We're going to be losing our full-time administrative assistant sometime in November, probably middle of November. So ask the commissioners to approve a part-time administrative assistant, 28 hours a week for, approximately a month and a half. It'd be about 28 hours a week. I think it's a COMAT 2 position,
Yes.
which tops out at $19.09 an hour. I had nearly 50 applicants in about a week and a half.
That's great.
A lot of experience. As far as the salary ordinance, I'd like to pay who I have in mind at the top of the schedule for that part-time, just because of their local experience and knowledge of the systems that we use.
How would that work then, when whoever the person is comes on full-time? Is that going to be an issue then?
No,
Maintain
once this staff member leaves, they would just
They would
in that position, yeah.
We just have to make sure it's on a pay period, because you can't be part-time and full-time all in perf. It's one or the other.
So I guess my question was, you pay this person the 1909 if you're going to pay him at the top of the scale.
Correct, yeah.
Currently, this position was funded for the maintenance that he's not using.
That's left over for 2024.
You guys budgeted for a maintenance person if Jerry would leave.
Yeah.
And he's not used that position, so it's an empty position at the moment. But it just needs to be reclassified and recategorized.
It's just a small portion of what that money was budgeted for. Probably a third or a fourth.
Can I ask you, can I understand, can you give me an understanding of why you put a part-time person to the top of the scale? And not.
The experience aspect of it. The person that I have in mind is going to be taking, a pay cut coming here, even when they go full-time. 20, 30 years in the county, doing the same position. I feel like 1909 is probably a little less than what they deserve, but it's the max we can go with that position.
Why would you have 50 applicants for a part-time position? Is that retired people or?
No.
I think it was advertised as a part-time going to full-time, because it will be full-time in November when she leaves.
I made that clear in the the posting that it was part-time, and sometime in November it would be going full-time.
But it seems like even full-time jobs from the get-go, when you advertise them, sometimes we struggle to get more than a few applicants. I just didn't know what the demand was or why.
And I looked through all of those applications, and they're all very similar to what that job description states.
Interesting.
Everybody
It's a
wants
good
to
sign.
take always coming.
For why anyway?
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
okay, so we,
So,
Go ahead, I'm
so after they go full-time, they're gonna get top of the pay scale at full-time?
No, I mean, they would
Or
just,
you're gonna reevaluate it?
He's only talking about the part-time,
That-
5
that's what I
weeks
wanted
or
to
whatever.
clarify. I
they
wanna
would stick with the
clarify.
salary that I have budgeted for in 2025.
Okay.
So whatever the employee that I currently have, whatever she would be making in 2025, they would make that.
That would be, they would go down from the 19 whatever to whatever the hourly was that you budgeted for.
It's actually 20-something. It's a COMAT 3 position, it's the full-time position.
So it wouldn't,
she,
I thought you said it was a coma.
just the part-time
The part-time.
part is COMAT
Then it
2.
would change to.
It changes to COMAT 3 when they become
Because he
full-time.
maxes out the two.
Okay, but you wouldn't max out this. the
No,
COMA three.
no, stick
Okay.
with what I already have budgeted.
Gotcha. Just wanted to make that clarification.
further questions? Okay, so, this what's on the table, amendment to the salary ordinance for part-time, 1909 per hour. So I'll entertain a motion, it's gonna come on lit CR. Entertain a motion to approve that salary ordinance.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, Ryan has made a motion. Alan seconded. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Anyone opposed? I believe that's.
Thank you.
Got any other comments or everything okay?
Nope, the parking lot got finished last week, looks great.
Thank you for coordinating that.
Yep.
So,
That's it then.
That didn't take long, thanks to these
No.
guys, I guess.
A couple hours, one afternoon.
Tim did a good job.
we thought about it, didn't actually do it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Brent, are you ready then?
I am, yep.
So I am here for additional appropriation in Hume Bridge. We have highway reimbursement, contractual services. That's why they line up. Have it right for it. So what it is, I've got 4 bridges that I want to do an epoxy overlay on. It's going to be roughly 44,000 around up. Then we have an overlay project that is, I have budgeted for $20,000. Yeah. And then a reimbursement from the highway department into the highway department for another 20,000. It was at 90,000. We had 91,000. That's what they're for. Three different things.
So the 4 bridges, and then you
And then
said,
an asphalt overlay for bridge approach. The bridge approach is settling, so we're gonna put asphalt to help level it out. Coon Size Bridge, if you know where that's at, on 300 North, over by the Balmer Farm. Tober River Bridge.
and what was the third then? Sorry.
And then the third is highway reimbursement. So every pipe that we put in, the highway department puts in, Hume Bridge reimburses that, the highway department. Well, NVH.
Is that bridge kind of the bottoms down there where it gets swampy?
If you come across a pulling trailer, you come up onto the bridge and you drop back down, so your trailer's still got a motion to it. As soon as you drop it, it really is easy for a ride. So we're gonna try to pull those both out of there. We're gonna pull up. I think I have 100 foot either way. Yeah, 100 foot approach either way.
Further questions? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to approve that 91,000.
Make that motion.
Okay, Meredith has made a motion, I have a second.
I'll second.
Sonia seconded. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes.
Perfect, appreciate that. Did you guys get Steve's email concerning the truck?
Yes.
Okay. All right. As long as you guys got it, if you have any questions,
So that's, you know,
I don't have much information, but I can try to help you.
what, it's like 95, that's 95,000 we approved tonight.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, I think it was pretty well self-explanatory.
Yeah, I think they did a good job.
The only question I had, I might have missed the email, is the purchase agreement contingent upon inspection? I didn't really catch
Yeah.
that.
Yes.
Yes, okay. Well, we were going down with a check, but we have full intentions of bringing it back if it's not good. We're gonna send Max down there and Tim to look at the truck. If there's anything wrong with it, then we're not buying it. And then the lot owner, he knows it, he knows what's on board with it too, so.
So he's confident.
Yeah.
So the, Alex probably knows this better than I do, you know, the 395,000 miles on it.
It's Max fully, we've ran him a lot higher miles than that, so he feels comfortable we can do 300,000 miles out of it.
Well, and I think the biggest thing is it doesn't have an hour meter because, you know, Cummins may sit around and hours is more indicative of the mileage on those trucks.
I think this one does. I can't tell you yes or no on that, but I'm just thinking it does, considering it's a.
If you do the math and you start seeing 5 to 10 miles an hour, when it breaks down, but it's said a lot.
Yeah.
And you probably don't want it, but if you get it down from 30 to 40, that's pretty normal.
Yeah.
Any other questions for?
So, thanks, Steve. Explained it really well, but this one I throw out there in case I need to. I can get hold of him, you know, if I need to.
I didn't have any questions. I think it's still up to, you know, it's still in the air.
No, yes, definitely.
You
I just
know,
want
I hope it works out.
Good.
For sure. So,
Is there a storm possibly that they just said maybe
Yeah.
just get out of it?
Yeah. I don't know what they're gonna do yet, but they're watching it. Travis talked to him today, as a matter of fact. He's going to keep an eye on him, make our decision last minute. So I'll wait till Wednesday before they make that decision.
okay, well, thank you for.
No problem. Thanks, guys.
Okay, the next thing on the agenda is the Duff Solar Park. And we have two representatives from the EDP Renewables. So they would.
You got it.
If you want to address the council.
Alright, well, hello and good evening. I gave everyone a folder. On the right-hand side of that folder is the Duff Solar Park tax abatement application. And then on the other side is an actual presentation that I'd like to cover with you all today if you'd like to follow along. So I'm Michelle Carlton. I'm the development project manager for Duff Solar. You may have worked with my predecessor, Bridget Chia. She has decided to pursue her master's all the way in Australia. So I'm her replacement. Been with the company for about 4 years now and located in Denver, Colorado.
And I'm Tom Lacherco. I've been in front of you before with Bridget, actually a couple times. I am based in Indianapolis. I'm Executive Vice President for the Eastern region of the U.S., Canada, and Government Affairs. And so I'm essentially responsible for the business in that area. And just really happy to be here again. I think what we'd like to do maybe is give you a little bit of an update. I think you know about us, but then a little bit about what's happened with the project since the last time that we talked to you, which is all really exciting news.
Okay, so just a little bit about EDP Renewables. I'm going to jump to this first page right here if you want to follow along with the stats. So EDP Renewables, we develop, construct, and operate wind farms and solar parks in North America. We're currently ranked 5th in the U.S. for installed renewable energy capacity. We have 61 wind farms and 15 solar parks in operation, so for a total of about 9,600 megawatts in operations. So we have a very good track record at developing projects and getting them built. The project's generation in North America is the equivalent to average consumption of about 2.6 million US homes. Headquarters are in Houston, Texas, and this presentation says we have 8 regional offices, but as of 2 weeks ago, we now have 9, with Denver, Colorado, which is where I'm located. And then a little bit about our economic impact in Indiana. So on the right-hand side, you can see which counties we have projects in development, construction, and in operations. So all of these projects, we have had a capital investment of $9 billion in the state. We have paid over $9 million to participating landowners in these projects. It's created 90 plus permanent jobs, and all of those are full-time positions that are eligible for full EDPR benefits, which I'll touch on a little bit more later. We paid over $35 million to local governments, spent over $1 million in Indiana, and created 1,820 construction jobs with our projects.
And just to mention, so we talked about 90 permanent jobs. Those are direct jobs that are with EDP, so people with our shirts on. But we also have vendors, let's say our original equipment manufacturers that have warranty periods of anywhere between 2 and 15 years, who will do the operations for a lot of the wind farms, for example. And so if you talk about people who are working on EDP direct projects, it's about 200 altogether. And so we're, what we think is a pretty large employer for the state. Indiana is my home. Indiana is home base for EDPR. And like I said, we've been operating here since 2008. And I've been with the company since 2007. So yeah, it's, Indiana is, like we say, our home pitch.
All right, then moving on, just some updates with Duff Solar. So some of this information you've probably heard before. The Duff Solar is a 100 megawatt project. So the energy generated with this project is the average consumption of about 19,200 Indiana homes. Estimated commercial operation date is December of 2025. We do have an executed generation interconnection agreement. So essentially, this very long agreement that gives us the ability to connect power to the grid. On the permitting side, my predecessor Bridget worked with you all to execute a road use and decommissioning agreement. And then in April of this year, we received our building permit for a commercial solar energy system. Newest update with Duff, we did get a power purchase agreement executed with Google. So now that we do have that completed, we are feeling very confident to move forward with the project. And as of right now, we're looking to start construction as early as December of this year or January of next year. Okay, so I'm going to move on, just talking about property taxes and tax abatement in Indiana in general. So this is a process I'm sure you all are familiar with, but the budget making process in Indiana is a top-down approach. So it starts with the taxing entity. So the county or township is responsible for setting next year's budget, which includes a tax levy that needs to be raised for that year. So the budget is really based on the needs of that district and must be applied based in certain ways based on Indiana code. Separately, an assessor comes in, provides the assessed value of the taxing unit, and then the taxation rate is calculated by taking that tax levy and dividing it by the assessed value. So just wanted to reiterate that it's not the bottoms-up approach, meaning that it does not start with the tax rate and then apply to the assessed value of the property. So moving on to what are the implications? So why am I bringing this up with you all? So the total amount of taxes that a county or township brings in is really tied to the budgetary needs of that entity. So not the assessed value of the property. So therefore, if there's a very large increase in the assessed value of the county, it doesn't result in a large increase in the taxes that are brought in. So whether or not the project is built, it does not impact the total budget of the county. So that means that if abatement is granted, the county is not giving up money because it cannot receive more money as a result of the project being built. And I have a couple examples on the next 2 slides to help show that. So why grant an abatement? So if we move on to the slide that has the 2 pie charts, we have an assumption. Let's say a solar park is built in 2025 and we start paying taxes in 2026. So if you look on the 2 pie charts, that represents the 2026 county budget levy. The one on the left-hand side is no abatement. The one on the right-hand side is no abatement. We'll just use the number 10 million just to keep it even. And you'll notice that the tax levy is the same for both scenarios. So Baker analysis for tax abatement and EDAs for several of our projects in Indiana. And their analysis has shown that the rate of taxation for all entities actually decreases year over year in both scenarios because the proportion of the assessed value has shrunk.
So in other words, in both of these pie charts, it's a $10 million budget, right? So just for the example. And the question is, how much of that 10 million is the project tax going to take? And in the case of an abatement, it will be less than it would be if there were no abatement. However, there's a way to counteract that, which gives more flexibility to the taxing entity, in this case, the county. So we'll get into that, which will explain why Indiana law allows for this, and it's called essentially a tax base. And this is probably all stuff that you know way better than we do, but we just wanted to kind of go through.
So just moving on to the next slide. So same example, but whenever we seek abatements with counties, we typically provide a large economic development payment that is in addition to that tax levy. So that economic development payment is in addition to the county $10 million levy in this specific example. So by receiving an abatement and paying economic development payments, we can basically provide the county with a larger pie for their budgets. And that economic development payment is discretionary and can be used for any project that the county sees fit. So over the course of a 4-year abatement term, in this example, the county would end up receiving more money total than they would without an abatement or an EDA. So this is just a high-level example that I wanted to run through before going into the Dove Solar specific application.
Maybe we can pause there in case there are any questions before we go into it.
Yes. So I mean, there's gonna be property tax reform in the state, no matter who probably leads the governorship. And the trouble you're running into, or I feel like you're gonna hit a brick wall, and other counties are doing abatement moratoriums because people don't wanna subsidize you guys getting a tax abatement on, especially people that are opposed to solar. So how have you dealt with that in counties that have been against or just brutal-ended abatements for solar? What have you done?
Yeah, well, we haven't had any, we haven't worked in a county with a moratorium on abatements.
You know of these, right?
Yeah, I've heard of this where they're saying, hey, we don't want to give an abatement. Usually the fundamentals of the project would allow for it to go forward without an abatement. The question is whether it is a win-win for both parties. And in this case, we think it is part of Indiana tax law for that reason, and that's the reason we propose it. And I'll explain a little bit about why that's the case. So here, it gives more discretionary income, right, on top of what can be spent as part of the budget, which are very specific items to the council or to the county. But on our side, what it does is delay some payments until later. And so that's an economic benefit for us because so much of our expenditure is upfront, and the time cost of money is very important to us because basically we're putting all of that on our balance sheet and then having to discount it at our own cost of capital. So that's why it's a benefit to us, but it's a benefit to the county because there's additional discretionary funds. That said, going back to your original question, we are aware that there are moratoria on abatements that are going forward. A lot of times that's because it's a pretty controversial project. In the case here, we haven't seen much controversy. We've got, most of the landowners in the area signed up to this. There's a, really positive process going forward, but we're proposing this only because there's a mutual benefit in our estimation. That's why I'm presenting it here.
Another question is, how would you sell power to Google? Where would the transmission to Google be that they would buy power from you guys? That seems like, I think of San Francisco, and I think of Google's not as solar.
Sure, yeah. So Google's entering into what's called a virtual PPA, a virtual power purchase agreement. Essentially what they are doing is they are offsetting their usage in this area. So we're part of the Mid-Continent Independent System Operator, which is the grid that goes all the way from Manitoba to the Gulf Coast. And we're in a specific area where Google has load. or they will have load in the future because of data centers. So this is outside of their headquarters. This is where they're storing data. This is where they have a lot of need for electricity. So they're increasing demand. And what they're trying to do is offset their demand with buying an equivalent amount of power. But what really happens is we build the project, the electrons go to wherever they're needed. Whether, first they would go locally and then they would go further out. But because we're on what we call a liquid system or a regional transmission organization, which allows the power to go to wherever it's needed, Google can basically say, well, we are buying this amount, these units virtually to offset whatever we're using within this certain area. What we have to do is settle it at a specific hub on the system, which in this case is called Indiana Hub. And it's geographically represented by Indianapolis. And so essentially that's what they're doing is they're saying our load is represented by how much we're pulling off at Indianapolis. And then you guys are putting a certain amount of contribution into Indianapolis, and net, they're hoping that it'll offset a significant amount of their power. And also because we just talked about all of our capital expenditures up front, or most of it is, we're able to give them a smooth profile in terms of the price for, in this case, it's a 15-year period.
Sorry for the questions, I was just curious.
No, that's great. Anyone, just happy to answer.
All right. So we'll move on, just briefly touch on the Duff Solar specific tax abatement application. So I wanted to go over the tax base and abatement program overview and kind of the scoring system, and just explain why we think we are eligible for points. So looking at the different categories, the first one, new investment in property and equipment. The capital investment for this project is $143 million. So we believe we're eligible for at least 30 points there. Second, we can guarantee at least 2 full-time employees. In our realize to score, we needed at least 3 full-time employees, so we are not going to claim any points there. However, the new employment wage level for those 2 positions, the average is 300% of the state minimum wage. So we do believe we are eligible for another 30 points there. Moving on to the category on the right-hand side, there is a very high chance that we will use Du Bois County suppliers and contractors during construction. Cannot guarantee it at this point in time. We don't have that exact percentage. It's very likely, so we're not going to claim any points there. But we can claim that next category to offer tuition reimbursement and continued education and a clean, safe workplace. So those 2 full-time employees are eligible for full EPR benefits. So they get health, dental, vision, relocation assistance, tuition reimbursement, and they are all subject to our drug and alcohol policy. So with all of that, we think we can score at least a minimum of 60 points, which would give 4-year tax abatement starting at 100%, going down to 25%. So we use these assumptions to look at the numbers on the next page. So if I turn, so these 2 charts were included in our tax abatement application. So this is essentially what we were showing you on that pie chart previously. So on the left-hand side, that option 1 is what we would be paying in taxes with no abatement. And then in option 2, that's the tax revenue with an abatement, assuming we score 60 points or above, and EDA payments. So with the EDA payments, once again, those are completely discretionary and can be used as the county sees fit. We make the assumption of 21,000 a megawatt. It's a 100 megawatt project, so that's $2.1 million in discretionary funds over the first 10 years of the project. So I did want to point out, if you look at the 2 options, over the course of 11 years, the taxes that we would pay are the same at about $7.8 million. And something that's not indicated on here, that we would be paying over the lifespan of the project a total of $24 million in taxes. So that would include the EDA payments, landowner reimbursement for property tax, defense tax, and then taxes on substation and the operation and maintenance building. So any questions on this before I move on?
So this hopefully illustrates what I was saying before. In the first few years, our economic model is sensitive to higher payments in the first few years because essentially we have a cost of capital to build our projects. And so to the extent that we can delay any of these payments, that's beneficial to our economic model. What this does, however, also provides the county an opportunity to take advantage of these discretionary funds so that if there's something outside of what was budgeted in a year, then you can apply those to those different types of projects. I think it would be useful to mention we've successfully done this in White County, Indiana. We've done it in Benton County. We've done it in Jasper County, Indiana, as well as Randolph County. The most recent example is both Jasper we did last spring and Jasper County, of course, and Randolph County we did over the summer for a project called Riverside 4.
And that was essentially what was on the last slide.
Sorry.
Just close it out for us, where we have done economic development agreements. And I know there was mention of having Baker Tilly run an analysis for the county. If that is still an interest, we absolutely are willing to be reimbursed for that analysis. So I'll pause there, see if there's any more questions.
I don't think so. So, any questions? So, I don't know, I guess we, like I mentioned to you, we had done that and we have, we're gonna go ahead and we'll hear from what the abatement committee had said. The rest of the council, so just a couple of us, there's, you know, a bunch of different people on that abatement committee, so, unless you got something else to say.
No, I think, well, just a question. So you'll hear from the abatement committee tonight and then.
We're gonna discuss that. We're gonna make a decision on this tonight, all of us, so.
I do got one question, though. You guys are a multi-billion-dollar company, right?
We, yes, yeah, I think so.
So, I mean, the toughest part, whether this passes or not, I can't say, but, and we've been down to get the big mistake, but for us that fund your CapEx up front, when these people are struggling to pay property taxes with the formula and the way stuff's went. So I would just say that some people are gonna be upset about that, even if they're not upset about a park being built where it is, which you guys have had minimal, I guess, negative comments on it. You know, if you can't pay your grocery bill and your property taxes and you're funding, subsidizing a property tax abatement for a multi-billion-dollar company, I mean, that hits home. So just, I do get questions about that, so I want you to be aware of that.
That's understood, and that's one of the reasons that we appreciate the opportunity to talk a little bit about this tonight, because one thing I want to be clear is that this does not fund the project. This does not fund our capital expenditure whatsoever. That's done by us on our balance sheet. So that comes from us, and it's not anything for the county to fund. Second thing is, if you look at the overall payments over the 11 years, it's actually, I think, within $2,000, it's 7.861 versus 7.859. All this is doing is it's using a rule that's allowed by Indiana tax code that allows property tax payments to be phased in. And that would be, so I could see someone saying, well, wait a second, if I'm struggling to pay my grocery bill, why are you letting them pay fewer taxes? Okay, that would make sense. The difference here is that we're subsidizing that with an EDA payment, an economic development payment, and that allows more flexibility for the county to do other things besides, you know, what's specifically in that budget, which ring fences what those funds are.
You said it supersedes tax revenue, correct?
That's right. It basically
Theoretically.
It's in addition, and so, for example, in White County, Indiana, there have been specific projects, whether it's infrastructure projects that never had the grant funding to do. A really good example is in Lasantville, Indiana. We have a project called Riverstar 3. This is in Randolph County. They've got a sewer system that they've never been able to raise funds to do. It's about $6 million. And it was in 2 small municipalities. One was Lasantville, one was Modoc. And there are maybe, I'd say 100 houses. And so you split the 6 million over 100 houses, way too much for any individual to pay for those 100 houses. So what ended up happening is, well, they couldn't put it on the tax budget because then it was essentially socializing that 6 million on everybody when only certain people were going to benefit. And so what they were able to do is use some of the money that we proposed in as an economic development payment because the project was closer to Modoc and Lasantville to say, well, we can use those funds locally and start to pay for that work.
And those EDAs or ED, economic development payments, the county has full discretion on what can use it.
That's right.
And what's some examples of things, just normal infrastructure? Is that typically what they do?
Normal infrastructure. So the good example was the funding for the sewer system in Modoc and Lasantville. Another one is playgrounds, or a splash pad we did in White County. So there are a number of different places. It can be public recreational enhancements. It can be infrastructure projects. It can even be funding for right-of-ways for fiber, for example, where people don't have access to that. So it really, what it allows is a more localized allocation of spending, which might not be part of the budget in any one particular year.
Maybe before we get started, I just want to say, I think DuBois County, you've worked together well, EDP, and you've been here for quite a few years. We've given, I guess we don't have zoning. So we weren't in, we're trying to stop it in any way. But, we work with you on the permitting, the decommissioning that you've got in here and the execution of the building permit. I think we've worked great, the commissioners, and we put a lot of work into it with the highway department and highway engineer. And, we've spent a lot of time, we're not trying to keep you out, but, I feel we worked good together.
We agree with that.
And I think, we were partners. So, and what you do with your lease, the people that lease your property for their property to you, I just hope you treat them fair, and not try to, you hear horror stories about that type of thing, especially the decommissioning.
Yeah.
And the topsoil has been the other big thing, that you don't take the topsoil and sell it or take it off site, that they can't put the farmland back.
Yeah, I think that's really useful to know, and a couple things to address that. As I mentioned right from the beginning, we're an owner-operator, and so the landowners that we have are people that we have relationships with for a couple generations, right? So these are 30 to 40-year projects, and we have a long track record of operating these projects long-term. These are the people that would actually operate the project, are people that will be DPR employees. So it's really important to keep those relationships. Second, on topsoil, we require for any one of our EPC contractors to ensure that if any topsoil needs to be graded for any reason, that it stays on that property. You cannot remove topsoil from one landowner to another. That is absolutely forbidden. We've done that all throughout the Midwest. And that's really important, especially in this area, because in certain parts of this project area, some of that topsoil has been replaced because of the previous mining activities. So we would never ever take topsoil away from one landowner, and we have no right in our lease to take topsoil and sell it. That would be, we'd never be able to work with any of those landowners again, for sure. So.
And I got another question. So you've got a couple of landowners that are islands in that project. Have they addressed concerns? Are you going to keep a barrier, boundary, or a buffer zone? Because I'm dealing with a project, a different local company doing one by property I own, And the landowner, he may get a fence if he's lucky, but there's gonna be panels up to his house, my neighbor. So I don't wanna mention names, but these people obviously never signed up, and they're gonna be literal islands within that solar park. How have you worked with them?
Yeah, I think if it's not connected back to the substation directly, if it's just a project that doesn't have the interconnection, like a direct path that goes back, then we wouldn't be able to put panels on something that's purely islanded.
Well, sure, I know, but I mean, are you gonna buffer your panels from the property, or is it just gonna be a chain link fence, or how's that gonna work?
Yeah, we'll have a fence, of course, and then what we propose usually is where it's facing a property. First of all, we have setbacks that we agreed to as part of the ordinance that was agreed in Du Bois County. But then secondly, we provide vegetative screening if there are any impacts, although there are very few impacts to residential property owners who are not participating, as far as I understand, in this area.
So the 2 employees that you do have, are they local employees or they hired and live in the county?
Yeah, they would be local. In fact, to operate a project this size, it would actually very clearly be more than 2 people that would be here. But we have an opportunity so we have a couple people here that would be here full time, 9 through 5, Monday through Friday, just like any other job. But the likelihood is that we'll add to that. And the thought is, for now, we have some techs that are up in White County that are really looking to expand their knowledge and their management capabilities. They work on solar up there, and so they've had some experience, and so they would come down, stay in hotels, be here, every week. And so that's why we're saying that, okay, we know that 2 people are gonna be here full time, but they would be managed by people who are gonna come down and spend money, be in hotels, eat meals here, just because we wanna bring in experienced people within Indiana who are familiar with the equipment.
So the others will be residents of the county?
That's right, yep. And there's a possibility in the future that we'll continue to expand that presence as well.
Other questions from the council? All right, otherwise we'll move on. We're gonna
We'll sit down.
procedure with this.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Just have to wait for everything to get it over here.
Michelle, do you have an extra copy that I can do?
This one.
Thank you.
Get out there, Daryl.
Sure.
That's Daryl wants it.
You ready? Lynn, would you address the council?
Yes. Good evening. My name is Lynn Gossman, and I do sit on the Tax Abatement Committee. We did meet on August the 23rd, and based on the information provided, the committee scored the personal property tax abatement application at a total of 30 points. And that was to speak to the new investment. We gave zeros for the remainder, 3 full-time to 5 full-time equivalents was our minimum. And based on that, the application had 2. We didn't provide any scoring for the state minimum wage or tuition reimbursement, any of those categories. Then we had a discussion, so that said, according to the county ordinance, this project would be eligible for a 2-year abatement, 100% for year 1 and 60% for year 2. The discussion for the ERA, which is an economic revitalization area, based on that definition, the area is not an undesirable area for normal development as the land is currently profitable farming operations. Du Bois County ranks very high in agricultural production in Indiana. This would be a loss of productive farm ground. There would be an associated loss of agricultural jobs, local farm equipment suppliers, seed and fertilizer sales, and grain elevators. So based on that, the committee unanimously agreed not to recommend that the 775 plus or minus acres and the southwest area of Du Bois County as described in the abatement application be designated as an economic revitalization area. Can I answer any questions?
I would say the difference between what EPD had on theirs is the full-time jobs and
And the suppliers and contractors, which there wasn't a commitment that we could see that definitely they would use contractors possibly.
Yeah.
So based on that, we scored a 0.
And the decision of the committee was that since it didn't have 3 employees, then the other factors of
The other
education and
categories.
wages was not appropriate.
Right, right.
Okay.
So you said because most of the contractors may not be local, you guys have to give them 0.
Yes, that's, I think, well, you can
Right,
answer for the whole.
They didn't list, yes, we would, and these are the ones that we would use. It said they may
Yeah,
use.
that's not what they, the presentation,
Right.
I just.
So based on that, we felt it was a 0.
Okay.
If there would have been a mention, we've got a commitment, this is who we're using, that would have been different.
So moving on here, is there any other questions for Lynn? So moving on here, we have to, in order to have any kind of abatement, we have to make this an economic revitalization area. So that's what we need to vote on tonight. Because without that, it would not be eligible for any type of abatement. So discussions there on that subject. Like Lynn says, I think the reason she gave us is why the abatement committee did not recommend approving it.
Yeah, I mean, I got a comment on it. I mean, economic revitalization stuff obviously is a extremely rural area, but like you said, there's good farmland there, and what people forget in the Midwest, we're blessed with the most productive farmland in the world and a small sliver of it. So if you start taking that out of production, I'm not against solar, and landowners have the right to do what they want, but arable farmland is not being made unless you count the deforestation of South America. So I think it's critical that we're very selective where we put solar in the Midwest especially.
Any other comments from the council? Okay, the recommendation is that we do not approve a economic revitalization area. So I would entertain a motion to that effect, that we do not make this an economic revitalization.
Motion.
Okay, Alex has made a motion.
I'll second.
Sonia has seconded. Further discussion? All in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? Unanimous. So thank you all for coming in, and we look forward to DuBois County to work with you on the rest, in your sort of form.
Sure, yeah, and appreciate the consideration. I think, thanks for the work that you guys did. We'll move forward, we plan on starting construction in, as you said, December, January. And we'll keep council apprised of the progress.
I really appreciate that if you would do that, so we can answer to our, to our taxpayers and residents. Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
Laura? Running a little late here.
Well, no, it's fine. I was like, I couldn't remember what I was looking through for timing, so we're fine.
Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Lauren Finman. I'm a Purdue Extension educator for DuBois County, and specifically my role is 4-H youth development. And I am just here tonight to give you a heads up that I will be attending our National Association for Extension Educators conference, specifically for 4-H youth development in Boise, Idaho, here in October. And for our office, we have a professional development line item, and I talked to our CED, Chelsea Brewer, about utilizing some of those funds for it. She said that was fine. She just said I needed to come give you guys a heads up since I'm using funds to cover some of the costs, in addition to it being out of state. So it takes place in Boise, Idaho. So.
You have an estimate of what this is gonna cost? You're gonna fly there, I guess?
Yeah, so I already had booked my hotel, conference registration and flights, and I think I'm up to about $2,800. When I last looked, we had roughly about 2,000 in our professional development line item for our office. And then I did receive a grant from the Purdue College of Ag for $750 to help cover costs.
Oh, that's great.
What's that agenda look like for this, just out of curiosity?
So this is an opportunity for me to network with other extension educators with the 4-H youth development work title from across the U.S. So there's some shape or form of 4-H in all 50 states, and so I get to meet professionals.
So it's going to be part of my question, if they were all structured the same way that we are, and yeah, I assume hopefully you would learn something you can bring back to apply that to what you're doing here. So.
Absolutely. So we have some general sessions, and then we have what they call breakout sessions or poster sessions about different well-planned 4-H programming that they have implemented in other states and other counties across the U.S. And I go into these kind of professional developments with the goal of learn as much as I can and network and reach out to those who have implemented that programming and try to at least bring back programming to the county and whether adjust it, adapt it for the 4-H program here in DuBois County. Or it could be a program that is adjusted to maybe potentially reach, we work in areas. So the area, I work with other 4-H educators from Knox to Martin down to Posey over to Perry. So sometimes we implement area-wide style of events for 4-H programming.
Is this at Boise State University or just a conference center?
It is in downtown Boise, Idaho. So it is not at the university, but it is at a conference center that they have in the town. And the national conference always rotates. So I think next year it's in Atlanta, Georgia. And I think Indiana held it in Indianapolis. I was a program assistant at the time, so I think it's been 4 or 5 years.
You said it's the national,
Okay, so I know it by the acronym. So it's the National Association of Extension 4-H Professional Development Conference. NAE 4-H
Put that on a t-shirt.
tell me that again, N what?
NAE 4-H YDP.
That's a lot.
I can look it up at that.
And I can double check my
That's
my
fine, I can look it up at that.
Any other questions?
And so you said it costs approximately $2,800 and you've got 2,000 from your budget
Yeah,
and 750 from,
Purdue University College of Ag Professional Development Grant.
So it's great.
okay.
And then if there, whatever funds, are not covered, I'm personally paying for. But I think I have enough between the two to cover the cost. To get there, attend the conference, but of course, food in the evening on my own is my personal cost.
Well, thank you for taking the interest in it. I think would we have a show of hands or would we have to have a motion to approve that?
I think you said in the budget they have to have your approval, so however you want to do that.
So I
Make a motion.
Unless there's other discussion with Lauren.
I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second.
Doug seconded, so any further discussion?
I'd just like to hear the results, yeah, at some point, what you learned, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I can follow up.
Informally, nothing.
Informally, yeah.
Yeah, just curious.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Well, thank you for coming into the meeting. Really
Thank
appreciate it.
you.
Good luck.
Wow.
And safe
Safe
travel.
Yeah.
Okay, next on the agenda is the funding transfer from $1.5 million for the airport loan of $1 million and a contribution from the edit funds, I guess, for the,
Well, we've got, since they have the airport gave me their loan agreement.
okay.
And in order, the commissioners have already signed off on it, but in order for you guys to sign off on it, we have to have the money in place.
Okay.
We put it in the 2025 budget. If you want to sign it today, I need that money in place today, so we have another option. You had the $6 million that we did not use from the jail construction project in the lit fund, edit fund. We can reappropriate that and put it into a line item for the airport, and then you could sign the loan agreement now, which they're wanting to start, so.
That sounds like it makes sense.
I think that makes sense.
The only other thing I could have done is advertise and do it next month. But you already have that appropriation there, it's just reappropriating.
I don't want to delay their efforts.
And so what I would propose is if you're gonna reappropriate that money for this year, that'll carry forward, let's get rid of it in next year's budget and I'll cut it out.
And then we,
Because you'll have it already in place this year. And then it'll be encumbered over through the project.
Put it budgeted for it for next year, yeah.
You don't need to budget for it next year because,
so we would just take that out before we adopt everything then.
right. Now, there's two parts to it. There's the $1 million loan, there's the $500,000 that you were just giving to them. I think that's both in this agreement, so. We'd have to move either the 1 million, the 1.5, or we can do it in one. I prepared it different ways because I didn't know how you'd want to do it.
I mean, why wouldn't we just transfer the whole?
Do the whole 1.5.
I think in the budget next year, we had two different line items, airport loan.
Separate from
So they're kind
So we
of,
would know what we
appropriation.
Right. right, and I will do it that way.
Yeah.
I have a line item for the airport loan and I have a line item for the contribution to the terminal building. It just keeps the books a little cleaner.
That's fine with me too.
I kind of like it that way, personally.
So, I mean, I can do it on one form or I can do it individually. It's however you guys want to do.
Let's do it individually. Is there someone in agreement with that?
Whatever makes it easier for you.
Well, I like it cleaner. Is that nobody, you give them $1 million, is 500 of that for the terminal? Is it, it's
I
just
just think if you
cleaner.
look back, I mean, I think we'll remember this, but if you look back on it, I think it's just.
10,
nice to know.
20 years from now,
somebody else.
We may all be going.
Different seat, yeah. Let's keep it clean. Let's do those.
Okay, so,
So we'll do the transfers first.
okay, so we'll transfer the $1 million for the loan. Is that okay, first?
Mhm.
So I'll need a motion to approve the transfer of $1 million.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, Doug has made a motion. I have a second.
I'll second.
Ryan seconded. So further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And then next is the $500 contribution, United funds, I guess, like you explained, to the construction of the airport
We're
terminal.
taking it from the Justice Project to the airport terminal, and then the Justice Project to the airport terminal.
I'll entertain a motion to make that 500,000.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, motion, I have a second.
I'll second.
Oh, sorry.
I'll good.
Who's,
It's on you, that's fine.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. it's fine.
I heard Sonia's first, so
So it's
Sonia
Sonia and
and Ryan.
Give it away.
Okay.
okay, so that's so then you can go to the actual airport documents. DuBois County Resolution 2024-15 is a resolution authorizing the lending of the funds in a loan agreement with the DuBois County Airport. The commissioners have signed their section at their meeting on last Monday. I think I gave it all to you in an email, so you have it.
So in that. So we all understand, I mean, this is, they're not, we will retain the $1 million and they draw it as needed. So we understand that part of it.
Just the third page of that.
And then the other thing is, this loan was dependent on them obtaining that $3.3 million grant from the FAA.
Which they did. They did receive. They did receive confirmation that they are getting it, and I have that documentation.
All right, so that's all, I think everything's legitimate signed, so I guess we'll, make a motion to, unless there's questions here, discussions. Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to approve the DuBois County Resolution number 2024-15, authorizing the loan agreement with the DuBois County Airport Authority.
We'll make a motion.
Okay, Doug has made a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Alex seconded. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Do that, and then we're gonna do the actual loan agreement papers from their board. There's 3 copies.
Yes.
They did, the airport authority did resolution 2024-7. It's their resolution
Okay.
to borrow the money. And so so there's 3 different copies of the loan agreement. Commissioner signed it last week.
So with this, the loan agreement would need to be.
Which in their resolution, this is Exhibit A. So that's why we call it Exhibit A.
So do we need to have another motion?
Yes.
Approving this loan agreement?
And the only people who sign it is me and Mike, the loan agreement.
So again, any questions on that? Hearing that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the loan agreement for the airport authority.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Meredith has made a motion, I have a second.
I'll second.
Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes. Unanimous.
think I'm going to seek a resolution, I think I gave that to you.
Just leave us on that one.
Yeah.
Here's the same. You don't get it mixed up.
I know, it's a lot of
I mean, on paper.
So the reason we do 3 copies is one for them, one for us, and one for the attorney, I believe.
Yeah, I think we're finished with the airport now.
I think that's that.
So, in the committee reports, I've been committee reports, I had a meeting, but I didn't, it was strong.
I have one meeting and then one committee report. I guess I'm gonna start with the meeting. Had been asked to attend a meeting in Burton last Thursday. They're trying to approach that Main Street designation similarly to what Huntingburg and Jasper both have done before. And from what I understand, this was the first meeting that I've attended, but that they're still on that. They've gone so far as to send out that questionnaire to all those residents to find out some of the, various amenities or different programs, things that they're looking to implement. So they had a variety of different people there, the board. It's, they're calling themselves Framing Ordinance. You probably have seen an article on that in Free Press. But then some of the folks that were asked, and myself included the last time, were just to ask questions. They had their, board of people from Main Street that were there, wanted to know, from various stakeholders, how people could, be, an asset to them or help them along, with different things. So it was really kind of just a report out. And then they did hold a public meeting right after that too, where those folks got to mention different things there. So I think it sounded like a really good effort by them. I think they're really wanting to move in a forward direction. So it was really just more of a, I did this last week, so you guys all are aware.
Well, thanks for attending, that's great.
Yeah, no, it worked good. And then in terms of, committee reports, wanted to give a short update just from the commissary review committee. I know that feel like we wanted to give a little bit more information to the rest of our council and then also, to the public that's also watching. But again, just reiterating that that's the responsibility of our council to review the commissary ledger for the sheriff, and that's every 6 months. I believe it was August 7th, our review committee met to review the transactions for that commissary ledger for the time period of January to June of this year. We did, as a committee, note a few transactions, more information was needed, and so we began that process to formally ask the sheriff for receipts for those dates in question, just to get a little more clarification. One of our committee members was able to obtain those receipts, and then we met again on September 17th to review all of that. And so, really just in closing, our committee, we noted a few more instances where we still felt like we needed more information. And so we just planned at this time to seek counsel from the State Board of Accounts for those items in question at this time. So for those that are not a part of that committee, if anybody wanted to see any of that, that information that we have or any of those receipts, be happy to provide that to you as well. So.
Well, thank you. Reporting on that. I attended the DuBois Strong meeting and they hired a new executive director, Colton Pippinger, and he's from Evansville. He's moving up to Jasper. He's looking for a home, a house to buy. So we need a young gentleman with married. So I think he's going to be a good asset for DuBois.
He was at the Main Street meeting too. I failed. I did have a chance to meet him as well.
Yeah, I think he's going to be great. They'd be great community.
Very energetic.
And we'll have him in here.
What was his last name?
Pippinger.
Pippenger.
But his first name spelled Colten, I think.
So I think he's got some good ideas, moving forward with Du Bois Strong, so, in economic development, so. Anyone else?
Yeah, what's the directional change for Du Bois Strong? You sit on that committee. So we got a new director. Why is that? And what were we lacking, or what are we gonna do?
Well, I'm not part of the executive committee that, they probably know more information than I do, but this was the first meeting, since Cole left. But I think what he's wanting is more to get more active in the community, with the ribbon cuttings, what's going on, to get it out into Facebook or some public media, and just get more, because we don't need, like he's saying, we don't need another tie over here in Du Bois County. We can't find employees for what we have, the industry we have, but I think he's got some great ideas. And I think let's let him come in here and explain. Maybe I think they wanted the executive committee and the whole committee wanted him to get his feet wet. He's only been in it for a month, or less. I think only a few weeks actually. So but I think he's got, like Meredith said, I think he's excited. He's a go-getter. There's no doubt. Does that answer your question?
Yeah,
To some extent.
Youthful exuberance is gonna bring a new vision. I think it's good. I'm just curious. I mean, I really honestly never knew if we were successful or not in that group, and I didn't really know the direction that we would go with the new hire. I don't know. So.
When you mentioned some of the marketing advertising, they also had hired another marketing specialist, so I don't know if they'll work in tandem together to try and help promote some of those good works of the county, so I just happened to see that article.
Right. So I do sit on I had a meeting with the Radius Indiana board too. I sit on that board, and it's, again, it's kind of Du Bois Strong as an arm of that in some ways. I mean, they have a lot of collaboration. And they're working on a walk, railroad spur, turn it into a walkable trail. The Mona Trail, they call it, so that's more of the, a little bit more toward the eastern side of Indiana here, but they are, Du Bois County is part of Radius, Indiana, so. Anyone else? That's all.
We had an EMA meeting earlier last month, and basically doing an update. There was a radio grant that the payments got distributed and reimbursed for different equipment. Also going for the grant for the equipment for the courthouse. That was a discussion as well. We received $77,267.62 for the SHSP grant. That's going to have surveillance cameras, metal detectors, mirrors, and other things for inside the courthouse.
So they heard they're getting it, or I thought they were waiting on hearing?
They're waiting on it at the time, so.
I thought it was gonna be this new week or next week.
Yeah, it's coming up pretty soon. Then they also talked about every 5 years they have to work on a mitigation plan, so that's gonna get started. It was approved on July 31st. FEMA approved that one, so now they're gonna start the next round of working on that for the next 5 years to get that ready for the future 5 years. Wanting to get the sirens on their own frequency. Then we also talked about the different, every other year they do a tabletop exercise, and then once they do the tabletop exercise, they go and do a full scale. The tabletop this year is going to be on November 12th at the community center over in Ferdinand at 6:30 p.m. if you guys want to attend that. And then next year they're going to be at, I believe, plant 4 for the full scale in 2025. It's going to be a sulfuric acid leak incident where they're going to get all the different emergency services involved. The hospital, the EMS, and everything's going to be involved in that, like they do every other year anyway with different things. They've been in Huntingburg, Jasper, different places in the past, and it's a really good learning experience and proactive way of working with the different agencies and cohesion between them. So, and they also said that they're really happy with the new office they have. They don't have that dungeon feeling anymore. They have windows now, and they don't mind cleaning up after themselves. To have that nice space, and they do have a nice meeting area that they plan on utilizing. And they're just really happy to be in there and have the facility that they have. So they wanted to just let everybody know that. So.
Thank you for.
Oh, also they got free tires for the tent trailer. The Alliance, the Healthcare Coalition Alliance group paid for new tires for their tent trailer, which is a big chunk of change.
Well, thank you.
That they didn't have to pay for.
Anyone else?
I went to community corrections. Wyatt summed up most of it, new positions in the ankle monitoring program and stuff. It's going pretty well. We did do the JRAC meeting afterwards, which is Justice Reinvestment Advisory Council. And they just asked our perception of how they're doing. And I said, if you're an outsider, it looks like they're extremely successful because they got a lot of grants and have just really moved forward with some new positions and some good stuff. But they said they just want to make sure they're not spinning their wheels or become mired in the mud. So we're working on some new ideas on the JRAC portion. But like I said, Wyatt covered a lot of what was talked about in the general meeting.
Thank you. Reporting, attending. Okay, so I guess that's it. Okay. It seems so quiet since it's on the 6th.
Is there somebody missing up there or something? I know. It was probably me when I was talking up there. Running around. That's how he's messed up.
Always quiet sex.
All
right. Sandy, if you're ready.
Okay.
Additional appropriation.
In the general fund,
Okay.
I think I might have put them different, but I'm gonna switch them. In the commissioner's other services, insurance, building and liability, I need an additional appropriation for $50,000.
And that, can I ask, that's just the
That's just-
increase of the cost of the insurance, is that what it is? Possibly because some of it is that we still insure the pod, the jail pod and all that, so it's probably that.
And new vehicles. Every time we get new vehicles, it costs more.
Okay, So $50,000 other services, insurance, billing, and liability. Any discussion there? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to approve that additional appropriation.
I'll make a motion to approve 50,000.
Got a motion, you have a second?
I'll second.
Sonia seconded. Further discussion? All in favor say aye. Anyone opposed?
When I advertised for this, I thought I had enough and I may have to come back for more.
For the insurance?
But we'll see. I'm not quite there yet, but. And then the next one is in the general fund, under the jail, the 4 jailers and their benefits that you approved. Are you talked about
And this is for the remainder of the year.
for the remainder of this year?
54,000.
5410. That is their salaries and their benefits.
Okay. That makes sense. Does everybody understand that? Questions? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to approve that $54,010. I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Further discussion? All in favor say aye. Anyone opposed?
And then along with that, I need a salary ordinance to pay these 4 jailers a biweekly salary of $1,847.20. It'll be a maximum of 6 pays to the end of the year. Wage classification C poll 3.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Okay. Motion in. Second.
I'll second.
Meredith has seconded. No further discussion on that? Hearing none. All in favor say aye. Anyone opposed?
Okay, under the courthouse fountain maintenance, we get money from the Community Foundation endowment every year, and we're gonna appropriate that exact amount that we received, $3,758.29, so Scott can have work done on the fountain.
Discussion on that. Repair and maintenance of the courthouse fountain. Okay, otherwise I'll entertain a motion
I'll
to
make a
approve
motion to approve that amount.
it. Meredith has made a motion, I have a second. Alex seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Is somebody's phone?
It's from our audience.
That was mine.
I was gonna say, something out there's ringing, no, I don't know who's here.
I had it on vibrate, but I have hearing aids in, so the Bluetooth in my ears, I'm sorry, I had it too loud.
Okay, under, in the lit CR tax, we are finalizing paying some of the final bills. And instead of using that lit money that we had appropriated for our economic development, we just gonna do an additional out of the CR tax to pay the remaining things, and I need $800,000.
I guess a little explanation.
I don't think I understand, I'm sorry.
Pardon me?
I don't think I understand.
Okay, so, during the construction, I think some of it was we moved, we did some roof coatings on both buildings, the security center, the jail, or the old jail, and these community corrections. And those metal roofs had been leaking. That was not part of the contract. We thought we would do that later, and they cleaned them and coated them, and they both now have a 10-year warranty. That was some of it. The others is when we moved 911, that was an additional. That was not part of the original plan. That was a change order. So that's some of a lot of the big portion of this. So, and then we paid all the new equipment, console, everything for 911, we paid this out of this fund.
CR tax.
And that would have had to been, like Stuart had told us before we started the project, if we don't do it now, we would have to start doing it, even if he would have stayed at where he was at. So I think it's all And Lynn and Sandy have done a fabulous job on tracking all this. And we had eyes on it all the time, between Chad and myself and the architect and Charmin, and everybody looked at it, every invoice, and it's all legitimate when it went to the auditor's office.
Instead of switching over and start paying out of the edit fund, we'd like to keep it in the CNR tax and finish it up there.
Because that's what we passed the tax for, that jail, and the operations and the payment of the bonds. So,
Makes sense.
does it make sense?
Yes.
Further questions on it?
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Okay. We got a motion on the floor, 800,000 transfer.
It's not transfer, it's an additional appropriation.
Sorry, additional.
It's your-
So I need a second.
Second?
Meredith, second. Further discussion? Otherwise, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carries.
Okay, I have a transfer for the distressed road loan. When we got the $1 million from the state, we put it in capital outlay and we should have put it in other services. And in between that time, they invested the $1 million and we got $9,403.33 from that. So that's why I want to transfer the whole $1,943,403.33 from that to other services to get it in the correct category. It's just a cleanup.
Everyone understand that makes sense? I'll entertain a motion to make that transfer.
We'll make those.
Doug has made a motion, I have a second. I'll second it. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Right.
Anyone opposed?
Okay. Do you want me to switch to the park? I have the park,
That's fine.
or I have the cume cap with the truck.
Yeah, let's cover that truck, the 95,000.
Steve had requested 95,000, and I think at the last meeting you guys talked about taking out a cume cap development. Or we could change streams here and try to spend ARPA money and use it out of the ARPA money and not use it out of cume cap. So it's kind of up to your discussion what you want to.
I mean, my only thought this afternoon was, what happens, when I got that email, that he may not spend the 95,000, so then what happens if we use ARPA funds?
Then it has to be under contract or we lose it.
So that's something that worries me.
Right.
I think we can use ARPA funds, no problem. Insurance elsewhere. I want to take the chance on it.
Right. Yeah, I think when we were told 95,000, we were thinking that's one and done.
Yeah.
We didn't realize it was in sections.
And he's gonna spend it on looks like 3 or 4 different things, rebuilding that truck.
Well, I did advertise it in cume cap. It's set to go. It just needs your approval.
So let's, anyone else have any suggestions? Otherwise, I think we better use cume cap on this. Does that make
It's not
sense?
worth the risk.
No, it doesn't. That's what worries me about it. Because if they don't spend it, then if it's
I agree.
$5,000 or something, we're gonna lose it.
Yep.
So
So leave it as it is, right? We just approve it as it is.
prove it. Well, she's good. Yeah.
I have it ready to go as an additional. It's been advertised, ready to go. I just brought the other paper in case you want to change mine.
All right, so I'll make we need a motion for it, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve it through Q cap as
$95,000.
already advertised, 95,000.
So we got that on the table, and need a second. Seconded. Alex. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Anyone opposed?
Because this tells me what fund to write a check out of when it takes it along this week.
I think that's good.
Okay. With the budget discussions with the park, I met with Christine. We went through her budget. I sent you the email where we changed all the numbers to lower her budget. With that, to keep her funded and keep her in the black, we're gonna reduce. This year, she was supposed to transfer over from park operating to park non-reverting, $225,000. We're gonna reduce that by $135,000. And so we'll just transfer over, what is it, 90 or something like that? And then that way, that'll keep her going with the reductions of the budget that we made. So that should be good. So I need a
So that's
approval for the reduction of $135,000 in the non-reverting transfer.
it's somewhat complicated, doesn't it? I looked at that 3 times, I thought, well, okay.
It's opposite of what you're used to. You're used to adding to the budget. This takes away from the budget. But I have to have it because it's a tax fund by the state, so.
Does everyone understand that?
So we're gonna reduce what she's spending this current 2024 into her, we're not gonna move as much money into her non-reverting fund, which next year lowers what, and then lowers, that increases your money that you have in your operating fund, keeps that in the black, and then lowering what she's doing in the other fund to keep it in the black.
Okay.
She won't spend as much next year.
Pretty clear to me.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Ron has made a motion for that, for the reduction of 130. Doug has seconded. For the discussion, hearing none, all in favor say aye. Anyone opposed?
Okay, did anybody have any questions on what she and I decided on, or are you okay with that for us to proceed?
I studied it, I didn't see anything out of line really. I mean, you know, it's not gonna be able to do as much.
Just kind of is what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it was,
If we can, you know, Ryan naturally is working on a grant to put that walkway in for the Precious Angels, so we can get that. She had some of that in her budget, I believe. So,
Yeah.
You know, we had to
We
take,
cut that.
keep you up to date there.
we had to take that on. I had some discussions with John Lingman and told him, and so I think we're still on the right path there. You know, hopefully we can get that grant. For the rest of you, you want to explain it?
Yeah, you know, that sidewalk that was just taken out that they were asking for. So I got some quotes to see what it would cost to just put it back. With some, you know, potential to get a grant that would cover that, maybe a bench. And we put the application in today through the, I believe it was Indian Association of Realtors, that side from that. So hopefully we can get something out of that. So I'll let you know.
Yeah, thanks.
What's the Precious Angels for?
The one-
Our Precious Angels walkway.
The walkway.
That's just the one.
I have pictures, I'll show you, if you're just curious what it looks like out there, I went there, I didn't either, took some pictures of it, but. So now you have to take a rock path to get up.
It got it.
Is it gonna be ADA compliant?
Well, it is now.
It is now.
It's just attaching to the concrete that's already up there. It spins, it stems it where the concrete is, so. The quote was for
Yeah, we-
$7,100, the grant can be for $7,500 if we would get it, so.
The way I understand, when we put the building there, they made it ADA compliant, but it's longer and it's not where it used to be.
Because they changed the grade on the parking lot to get it more level. You know, they had to cut it down a little bit.
Why does the Realtors Association issue grants for stuff like this? Is it just for community?
Community outreach, things like that. Yeah, and they want to do something up here, so hopefully we can.
You got the pool.
Well, if we can get something done, we'll try. But I'll show you some pictures, just what it looks like later.
Thanks for doing that.
Yeah,
Ron, thanks for-
That's good.
give it a shot.
And then
Careful with the truck. Oh, I guess the next question is with the 4-H council and the park and a dump truck.
Okay, all right, so, right now, the park, or the county owns this truck up there, it's like to me, it's got like a cattle thing on it, cattle rack, I'll call it. And they're having difficulty, with that part of it, picking up limbs and that kind of thing, but the main problem is, they just spent like $1,600 on getting it fixed a year ago. Now it's got a similar issue. It's a diesel, it's leaking oil, or leaking gas, I'm sorry.
It's diesel.
Fuel. And so they don't want to stick a whole lot more money in it. The city of Jasper is trading in one of their trucks at the one of the local dealers, and they would sell it to us for $500 more than what they're going to get. They're getting the city of Jasper for it, which is like $15,500. So I think the commissioners agreed if we would, if we passed the funding mechanism, that they would, the 4-H would split that cost with us. And they, one of the commissioners stepped in on it and said that they do have the money to possibly split that. It would be a county-owned vehicle. That's the truck they have, and then the next couple pages, the next couple pictures is what they would buy. It's the one they have has 200,000 miles on it. The one that got traded in, which is a gas model, has 100,000 miles on it.
And that 1,600 really is just parts that they put into it, because he volunteers his time.
Right.
You know, I think they're pumping a lot of money into that truck.
So with that, give me the full name, let these guys see it too. With it comes a salt spreader and a snow blade, even though they do not use it up there. So I don't know what you think, what the thoughts are, but I'd like to have approval, that we would support it. Anyway.
So we're thinking this will happen in 2025. So should I add to the 2025 budget? Or do you want me to do an additional for this year?
I think the truck that's on order, they don't know if it's gonna come in 2 months or 6 months. So that's a little bit where we're at, and I think Chad's told, when we had a meeting with the 4-H, that he would even let him use their personal truck if they need it.
For that month.
Or if this thing goes down completely. We would get some trade-in or selling it outright, but Chad Hunefeld, the vice president of the 4-H, he just said it's not gonna bring a lot of money. If it's $500 or something, it could be, if he can get it running, he thinks maybe it could bring more. So, I don't know, anybody got any thoughts on that? I think I just feel we can't hardly leave the park stranded, without a truck.
But we're only paying half, right?
Well, we would pay for it and they'd reimburse us half.
I mean, they gotta have a truck, in my opinion. Seems like they're band-aiding this other one and pumping a lot of money in it.
And then we will insure it, title it.
Could like the highway department use the truck as parts, or,
That's what salt's for.
they're pretty ingenious on getting things to work and scrapping and using and stuff, so.
I think both departments are.
Yeah.
So one of them
So
saying
one
it's
is-
not. Look at this. I think they both do a really good job of
Yeah.
living with what they got and making do.
But I think having a salt spreader and a snowplow on it, they can at least do the park and not have to worry about that then.
Right, sure, could help them a lot there. Well, and Steve Bird was gonna try to sell the park in one of his trucks, but it was too big of a truck, had to have a CDL license, so we didn't seem like it worked out. It's just too big of a truck.
I mean, $15,500, would it matter if we just put it in this year still? I mean, what?
Well, if it doesn't come in till next year, then I have to reappropriate it. Because you have to have it under contract to carry it across.
But wouldn't we have it under contract, can't we sign
Right,
the
even if you
contract?
didn't take delivery on it.
I don't know that.
Isn't that the same like our ambulances that have been on order for 3 years?
Right.
I'd have to defer to Greg for that.
Well, I mean, I don't know, whatever, I think if we could get it this year, we would,
But I think they're pretty much thinking it's not gonna be here till
it's gonna be
25.
next year.
Because it's a special color paint.
Yeah, they have to have a green paint, they don't come in white, I mean, they only come in white.
Well, even if it can go earlier, we can just wait, I mean, we're talking,
So in my opinion, if it comes in January and you guys don't have it in the budget, then we gotta wait till you do an additional appropriation to go that route. If I put it in the budget, it's available January 1,
That's true.
that makes sense, I'm fine with that.
because you
But
guys
we're
don't
just
always
showing
need.
our hands then on that.
So if you want, yes, if you just want me to put it in next year's budget, I will do that when I take the airport out of that budget.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And that would be
The edit,
edit funds, right?
yes.
Yes.
15.5,
Yes.
I'll add 15.5, I'll take out $1 million and a half.
So that would be a show of hands,
Sounds
right?
like
Yeah.
a trade.
So, any further discussion on that? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion.
Do we need to just show it?
Don't do a motion, just do consensus.
Good.
So it's a unanimous. And we
Okay.
did, Ryan and I, and Sandy, we sat down with 4-H, spent around 2 meetings really,
Yeah. That's great.
to get this going.
Thank you guys for doing that.
The other thing for the budget, I have the highway superintendent. I don't know if you had any update on that.
I did not, I just, I was thinking how we could do that without, getting the council's approval to put it in there when we find out. I tried to call Marky.
He's gone, he's in Florida.
Yeah, that's what I said, he never answered it. But what's happening is, they have the new superintendent that's gonna start in January. And we wanna he's not gonna be making as much as Steve, had been. So we were wanting to put the exact amount, in his budget line item. But I don't know exactly what it is.
What that
right
is
now.
yet.
I mean, it's somewhat lower, but could we have the council's approval to change the budget?
To lower it to that amount when I know it, because I have to submit this Friday. So hopefully I'll know it by Friday, or it'll be what it was.
Changing the budget the way you're talking, going down.
Yeah, I will.
No.
Well, if we don't lower it next year, it skews because you're paying him lower than what.
Right, and
It's
he's gonna
budgeted.
say, well, the budget says this, why can't I make her? I mean, that's what I see about it.
So make
We just have as soon as we find out, Chad I had to text Chad, I'm aware, or email Chad about it, but he hadn't got back. I didn't see anything at least come through, and you were on the email,
I don't see anything.
if that's okay.
So we just have your approval to change it if we
Just
know
want
it.
a show of hands?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fine with it.
Thank you. So we can get it, I think that's the best way to do it.
And then Wyatt is still waiting on some changes to the IOC pretrial grant. They may give him more money. So if I get that, can I change that budget in here?
It's another good problem.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sure.
So that's page 27. Well, it is a grant, so
Speech.
Yes.
So let's have a show of hands, is that all right? We'll change that. Okay. We still got approval of the budget as a council. I mean, we're not giving up anything here.
I'm just trying to make it as exact as I can get it before I submit it.
That's the right way to do it.
I think that's that. The only other thing that I still have is the library appointment.
Right. but I think that was sent out through some correspondence to Janine O'Brien Monday to accept that position. And I don't know if anybody reached out to her. I talked to her, emailed her, I think, but she's willing to take it for, and it would be a period. It's a 4-year term, and she would only fulfill the.
She would fill it to the end of the remaining.
6/30/28.
Right.
So is that acceptable? So we want to appoint this off, if there's no disagreement, we'd like to have a motion to approve her as the appoint her to the.
I'll second that.
Who did the first?
Alex and Ryan, so all in favor say aye. Anyone opposed?
I think it only needs your signature, Mike.
Yeah, I had no idea either, that's why I drove out there.
That's all I have.
Okay. Public comment. This is what we've been waiting for.
No, you may come me too much. One thing you do want to think about is when you get another counselor elected, you have to appoint a replacement for the regional sewer district board.
Okay, yeah, we had talked about that. I was wanting to wait till we got that.
That's what I'm saying, once you get somebody on, yes. I can talk and tell some jokes, or if you.
No, let's not do that.
Keep me here for another 45 minutes?
Any other comments for the public?
No, I do that.
Well, thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
So, I don't, anyone else have anything to discuss?
I got something for Daryl. What a pleasure to work with you, buddy. You brought some unique perspective to the council. And hopefully you keep up with us all. I know you're a worker, so I'm sure, and this is your home county, so we'll see you. But what a breath of fresh air working with you, and your unique insight, and thanks for being willing to take it to the state house for us.
Well, thank you very much. I just speak from the heart, work from the heart, and, you know, it's time to participate, you know, and give back. So thank you for the kind words.
You said that you also work with smart individuals and knowledgeable people, that you are one of those as well on a lot of different topics. And a lot of the questions you've asked that made me think and challenge what I think and my ideas and stuff. So I appreciate your unique aspects of everything and willingness to challenge and make sure everything's done right. And I know you have the best interest of the county in mind and everything you've done, so I appreciate that.
Thank you, thank you.
We had discussed before you ran, you had asked me if I thought you would do a good job, and I said, of course, you would do a great job. But I'm super selfish. I don't want you to leave the council, because you were a great asset to the council. We're gonna miss working with you.
Well,
You're
thank you.
gonna have some big shoes to fill.
Thank you.
I'm not gonna give you a big head.
Yeah, I know, that's okay. I was waiting for one more person to say that I was a unique individual, and then I was gonna start to get paranoid.
Oh, wait.
Well, I hope you remember everything I taught you when you go up there.
I'm gonna try. If not, I'll call you.
Remember us little people.
I'll call and ask.
Sandy, do you have anything,
I think I'm finished.
council? Otherwise, I'll close the meeting. Oh, I need
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, now we can talk about Daryl.
Yeah.
Your next meeting is the public hearing on October 9th at 6 o'clock at night. And then the budget adoption's October 28th at 4:30.
So, come on.
October 9th and then.
The 9th is at 6 o'clock at night.
You'll put that in the minutes.
I will put that in there,
October 28th is.
regular.